Yep.
Nice. He just sent that.
Yeah, this guy's really cranking them out now. I gotta keep him busy.
Yeah, but there were a lot of really good called Zanicus demons. Like Solaria was good, Castidia was good, Zunk was good, Famine was good. Actually, Zephy, if you remember Zelfie, he had a really good called Zanicus demon named Stellan. Cutter was really good. I mean,
Devil's Spawn was okay.
Devil Spawn was really good. I mean, there were quite a few. Gizmo was really good. That was Jad's demon. Jad became an ogre named Oomph or whatever it was.
Traitor.
OOMMPH or whatever, and he used to spam the hell out of me with toss things over and over again. But yeah, Cult of Zanicus was okay. They were never like terrible. I mean, at one point, I would say maybe they were tied for being possibly the weakest jobs in Evil, next to maybe zombies. Zombies weren't really strong. They were more niche than anything. But if you use them right, they could make or break invasions too. It really just depends on how you use them. And they didn't really like the way I used them anyway, because I would use them as like room fodder, like as bait. I would have them rush first and let them take all the hits, and then we'd run in after.
I used to do the same thing with Daleth. I'd get him to go in the room, get him someone to backstab on him to fire off all the catapults. It's pretty funny, and that's all they were really used for.
Yeah.
Bait and holding walls.
Or I would have them run in and just guard. Because here's the interesting thing about guard, if you remember that mechanic, your guard percent kind of went up to, if it was an object that you had to go into, like a door or a hole or a climb or whatever, if you guarded that thing, your guard, as long as you didn't hide or like do any other action, your guard percentage would go up to like 100% on that object. So what I would have zombies do was I would have them run in and guard and just make them go combat parry beforehand and parry a monster so their defense is boosted, and we'd have them rush into a room first, and we'd have them guard an exit or a room that we knew we were going to be fighting in. Or like if we're rushing into a room filled with chaos, for example, I'd have them immediately guard, and one or two of them, like the smaller ones, like the tiny ones, because they're not going to have that much of an impact on the fight anyway. And as long as they weren't dead, even if they were unconscious, they would guard 100%.
Huh.
So that was like a fun little thing with them. They would just soak up hits and they would guard everything. They would keep people from running out, even if they were unconscious.
Now there's something that's unconscious guard. Mm-hmm.
So as long as they weren't dead, they would still guard. So
yeah, but should they have? Probably not.
Probably not. But I mean, again, you use what you have, you use what you're given, and zombies kind of like they weren't a super powerful job in their own right, but they had certain abilities where if you use them right, they were really, really strong. Like Regen was a really, really strong ability, but they were probably the most defensive class in the game, with the exception of maybe Orcs and Paladins. But I mean, they could handle a lot of shit for you. Like they could single-handedly. There's logs I have of them, just like Corpse and a few other zombie, Loom or whatever her name is, a few other zombies is dragging entire invasion parties away and getting us reset up. Like because they went combat parry, and like people can't fucking kill them. So, things like that. You have to just take with what you're given. So, I mean, I hope I kind of deviate a little bit, but I hope that answers you as far as my opinion on Cult of Zanicus goes. I mean,
that's what I think.
Yeah, I never thought they were a bad job. They definitely were lacking for a while, but later on in the game, they kind of were helped out a bit. And maybe they were, in certain instances, maybe they thought they were a little weaker than, they were definitely weaker than Goblins. Goblins remained, from once they got bombs, the best of the crafters. Just because of the extra shit that they could do. Hide and sneak is a big deal in DFC. It was a huge deal, especially if you hide and sneak on a crafter. Now you don't even know that they're there, and you're getting walled into a room. or you just get bombs in the face. So I mean, they had a lot of, in terms of manipulating an actual battle. I think goblins were the best. Again, Chaos, I'm not sure if that was equalized later on. Chaos did have the worst ammunition. So they had like boulders or something. It was garbage, as far as I know. I mean, they could still kill you. I mean, easily they could still dock slaughter you, but it wasn't like globs of hellfire and whatever Good had. I don't know if anyone remembers what Good had. I don't. Off the top of my head, I don't remember what they had.
Hey, you don't remember. No one else is going to.
No, the people from Good might. Crows might remember. So.
He replaced that knowledge a long time ago.
Yeah, but skeletons were good. Skeletons were really powerful.
Skeletons were leveling machines too. I mean, you could level so fast on a skeleton.
Skeletons were easily the best of the three realms in terms of like what they could do in a battle itself. Being able to attack multiple people twice. Was a huge advantage that I took advantage of. A lot of people, because I would make sure that no matter what, certain skeletons would keep their second hand on someone else, even if they died. Just keep spamming that second person. That was really vital against Chaos, to keep people like Alexiel down, if you know that orc, who would res everyone and we would just die. Her and Fib were the most annoying people on the fucking planet. But you had to make sure that orcs stayed down. You had to make sure healers stayed down, or certain lizards stayed down, or certain people stayed down. And having skeletons devote their second hand to that player throughout the entire fight made a lot of fights easier, because you knew if they got resurrected, they were just going to die instantly. But one-on-one, skeletons were probably the weakest of the three. Paladins would destroy skeletons. There wouldn't even be comparison. And lizards had 2 points in general, just like paladins, so they weren't fodder the way skeletons were against rogues. So, I mean, skeletons, if they went solo, chances are a rogue was going to destroy them. Same thing with the kobold, as long as they were using a crush weapon.
Well, so here's a question, because I know you talked a little bit about Berserk on your wolf, and so you have some experience, but the troll Berserk experience is kind of debatable, I think. So what did you feel that a troll going 1v1 against you, or just in general, was a good matchup for any reason? And what is your overall kind of opinion on trolls?
It depends, because trolls were another funny situation, because later on trolls didn't always have plate armor. It was like the same thing with zombies. Trolls did not always have plate armor, but they were given plate. I'm not sure. I think they were given something else. I can't remember off the top of my head, like another ability. I know they always had two-handed, and they also easily had the highest like raw strength of any job in the game, with the exception of me. I think dwarves and zombies came right behind them in terms of like their strength bonus. Trolls, if you're talking about the traditional like herpaderp troll who didn't really know about spell staves, if they zerked me, if they didn't one-shot me or stun me, and to like do a lot of damage and stun me, I would destroy them on my wolf. It wouldn't even be a contest, just because of the way Berserk worked. They would didn't matter. All their defense, their two-handed shield didn't matter. If you berserked someone in aggressive, your defense went to 0. Period. Your defense was nothing. You were done. And I would maybe one-shot or two-shot trolls back. If a troll was smart and didn't actually aggressive or berserk, maybe they smashed a couple times and then berserked, maybe as like a finisher, they could easily kill my wolf, because I can't bandage. I can't get away from them. I mean, that's just in the case of a troll versus a wolf. But where it got tricky was if the troll used a spell staff. If a troll used a spell staff and fought an aggressive, it was more 50-50 than anything. Because really it just depended on who stunned and for how long, and if you could stun, because wolf form really didn't do all that much damage physically to plate, and they couldn't take advantage of combat form. So if a troll was already an aggressive and he used a spell staff and he would berserk me for like 250, 300, 400 damage and then stunned on top of that, I'm not going to sit there and try and like chain stun them, especially if they're using a spell staff, because chances are I'm not going to stun them, and then they're just going to kill me right away. So that was like a thing that kind of never got addressed. Like, was using a spell staff, was that abuse or not? Like, I mean, no one ever really addressed it. So I used it on my wolf. I had the Mithril Bone Staff from Glory Bia that was like really, really, really strong. And I used it to hunt places like Silver Mountains and stuff like that, because it was so much easier to berserk a monster twice and get like 60k experience than it was to get on my wolf form and tangle with it for like 5 minutes straight and hope I got experience, because the way wolf form also worked is if you didn't connect with your hands and you killed just the sigils, you would get 0 experience. So that was annoying. But I think... Go ahead, continue.
I think, because obviously I probably played Troll personally more than anything, but I realize that there's individuality in the realms, there's individuality in the classes and the races, but then there's kind of the jobs, as you call it, where the Troll is kind of the backup meaty warrior that is. But I mean, compared to the Lizard, the Lizard were way stronger, way more consistent.
There was no comparison between the two. I agree. Lizards were completely overshadowed Trolls. Trolls were, again, they were like that niche warrior, the same way wolves were and like zombies were. Trolls brought a lot to the table, but not in the aspect that you would kind of like want. They were definitely more support than anything. And is that by design? I don't know. I mean, because Troll could, if they picked their targets right, they could do a lot of damage, but Berserk was like their bread and butter. And if they weren't abusing a spell staff, it was like you're a complete glass cannon. All that defense you have, your two-handed ability, your double shield, your plate armor, that means nothing at that point. If once you hit that Berserk, you're fair game. Like a level 30 could kill you. Even through combat parry, until you attack again and reset your defenses. So they were an interesting job, and they were, I mean, admittedly enough, they were a job I was never really scared of in any capacity on any of my jobs. Not on my wolf, really, because, again, Evil had the advantage, especially if you were soloing, to kind of pick and choose your battles. So every job I played had sneak and hide. So I'm not going to sit there and, like, if you're a troll and you're just standing there, something's up. You know what I mean? Like, you're waiting for someone to attack you, or you're waiting for something to happen. There was never any real legitimate reason for a troll to be standing at like South Gate and just like out in the open during an invasion. You're up to something. So I would take a second to really analyze what's going on and make sure that it's an appropriate attack. But trolls, they had melee, and melee wasn't the greatest, but it had its uses. Trolls needed help, I think, but I mean, how much help, I don't know. Like, again, it's a balancing act. Like, at what point do they become overpowered? Because trolls, again, one good berserk from a troll could destroy someone, like, easily. Again, it depends on what job, what matchups. Any rogue type, for the most part, if a troll hits that rogue in combat aggressive, and that rogue is in combat aggressive, chances are they're getting one shot.
Right.
But again, Berserk was really flawed. Well, I mean, it was working as designed, and it was you're a glass cannon. You attack really strong, and you get hit back really strong, and it's really disappointing when you berserk something, and they happen to be in combat parry, or it's a monk, and you completely whiff or something, and then you just get like kicked in the face, and you get hit for like 700 damage.
Exactly.
That's like the worst feeling, easily the worst feeling.
So do you think that, because we've identified kind of the main factors. We know that there's obviously the skill itself, Berserk, and then the negative effect itself, and then the positive effect. And it seems like they kind of were like, okay, well, let's make it really fun, and you can hit the crap out of something if you hit it. So was it an accuracy issue for trolls, or can we go ahead and say something like, let's remove the negative effect if you miss your target, and maybe even lessen a little bit, and then only if you actually hit something will you actually get your negative effects.
I think with Berserk, there's a few things that you could fiddle around with. I think the problem with, because the way combat worked, and I think we've had the discussion about it before, is that no matter how much defense you have, there's a certain point where if you're getting attacked by a certain amount of characters or NPCs or monsters all at once.